Hello everybody and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol panel to play reveal breakdown here. And today we are looking at a character a lot of people are very excited for. That is of course Apocalypse. So today not only have they shown off Apocalypse's flip side of his card, which wasn't revealed to us at Mini Stravaganza, but they have also revealed who is going to be a member of the Servants of Apocalypse affiliation and what Horsemen cards they will be allowed to take. So we're going to go ahead and go over all of that in this video here, starting out with Apocalypse's stat card here. So Apocalypse is coming in as a 6 threat. He's going to be having 4/4/4 defensively with 7 stamina, so nothing too crazy so far. He's a size 4 with a medium move, and on that large base that he has, he's going to be getting around the board reasonably quickly there. And he's coming in with 2 attacks here. The first one is Biomorphic Arsenal. This is going to be a range 3 7 dice builder attack, gaining power based on the damage dealt. And he gets to choose whether the attack type is physical, energy, or mystic. So some great versatility right out the gate for him in his builder here. It also has the Wild Cower Before Me trigger. After the attack is resolved, the target character gains either the Shock or Root special condition, both very strong conditions. And if the target character already had both the Shock and Root special conditions before the stack was chosen, you may throw them away small. That is also an any size throw, so always good to see those as well. Next, he has Ansaba Noor's Judgment. This is a 3-cost spender. It's going to be throwing 8 dice energy, but it is only range 2, so you got to be a little bit closer for this one. And the only rules text on this one is that it adds 2 dice to the stack roll for each special condition the target character has. So already you got a little bit of synergy with his own kit there, with the ability to throw out those conditions, but obviously you're going to get more mileage out of that if you have other characters on your team also throwing out a bunch of conditions. His leadership basically just says he's going to gain the Master Horseman card, and he's going to assign the Death, Famine, Pestilence, and War cards to eligible Servants of the Apocalypse characters in his squad, and none of them can be assigned more than one, because all of the Servants of Apocalypse have options for which one they can be. So yeah, you can't give, both of the cards for one of the characters to that character. You have to split them up. So if you want to run all 4 Horseman cards, you do need to be running 5 models, including Apocalypse. So that is worth acknowledging. Next, we go into his superpowers here, and the first one is Celestial Technology. This is a 4-cost reactive that says during the power phase, choose up to 2 other allied characters within range 5 of this character. Each chosen character drops all objective tokens and is placed within range 1 of this character. So a great way of kind of just zapping your allies over towards you, whether that's bringing them into the fight, getting them out of the fight, or just kind of bring them into a position where he can benefit from some of the things that they're trying to do for whatever reason. Yeah, really solid ability there, just to kind of have that zap to bring your allies in close. Next, he has You Will Be Remade Through Me. This is a 1-cost reactive that triggers when an enemy character within range 5 would gain a special condition that it already has. At that point, he's allowed to use the superpower, and the enemy character gains the Bleed, Shock, Slow, or Incinerate special condition instead. Character can be affected by this only once per turn. So this has a cool little bit of synergy with his biomorphic arsenal here, because if he's already given out the Shock or Root condition and then he goes to punch them, he's going to get to do the throw because they already have the Shock and Root, but he still gets to try and apply the Shock or Root again. So he will be able to use this superpower to now also give them one of those other conditions available there. So really strong ability there. It'll be interesting to see how that's going to work with stuff like demon portals for like demons downtown, which is going to be lighting everyone on fire, but that doesn't actually happen during a turn. So we'll see how the kind of timing shakes out on this and what the rules end up being. That's also going to be a thing for his other superpower here, Only the Strong Remain. This is a passive superpower that says after an attack against this character is resolved, if this character suffered damage, it may remove 1 damage from itself. So kind of a, not damage reduction, you actually get the power for it, so in that way it's better, but also if he just takes 7 damage, it's worse because he's just down. So pluses and minuses. Additionally, though, once per turn, when this character would gain a special condition it is immune to, it may either gain 1 power or remove 1 damage from itself. So that one will be interesting to see how that works with some things, but there's definitely a lot of ways that you could play around with this. Particularly, I'm thinking about characters that pass out conditions to their allies. Like stuff like where, they just hit in a big area and they're like, all of these people have this condition now. Kind of a cool bit of synergy there. You can use that to heal or power up Apocalypse if you need to. So might be a bit of a more niche situation, but really, really cool. And on his front side, his immunities are Bleed, Incinerate, and Stun, which are all very, very good immunities to have, particularly Stun and Incinerate on your higher threat models. So really, really solid there. Next, he has his flip side here, where not too much has changed. There's only 2 things that I've noticed. If I'm missing anything, please do let me know. The first one is that he goes up to 8 stamina, so he gains a little bit of bulk on this side. And in addition to that, his immunity has changed to just being all special conditions, which is kind of insane. There is absolutely no way to condition this guy down. You're going to have to find a way to either control or kill him, because you're not allowed to put conditions on him on the flip side. As a matter of fact, he will be punished for trying, because he will either gain power or heal damage from himself when you try. So definitely got to be careful running into this guy with any sort of condition heavy characters, especially if it's not optional condition handouts, because that is just actively bad for you. So really, really strong immunity special conditions is, I'm pretty sure, something we've never seen before, at least not outside of Ultimate Encounters, and it's kind of terrifying. I'm not sure how I feel about it from a competitive standpoint, but it is really cool with the abilities on his cards, so I got to give it points for that. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Horsemen cards next. We have already seen those in Mini Extravaganza, but we're going to go over them again briefly for anyone who missed that, and then we're going to get into the Horsemen list. All right, so here are the Horsemen cards. We'll start out with Apocalypse's himself, which is the Master of the Horsemen. Once per turn during his activation, Apocalypse may use 1 of the active superpowers on any Horseman card that was assigned to an allied character by his leadership. So he gets to use the superpowers coming from the other cards, and obviously we'll read those in a moment. When Apocalypse is KO'd, this card is removed from play after the effect is resolved, so this card will just go away. Cool, cool. During the power phase, this card gains 1 evolution token. This card can have a maximum of 6 of these evolution tokens on it. Once per turn, when an allied character is assigned a horseman token, when an allied character assigned a horseman card is attacking, defending, or dodging, during the modified dice step, it may remove up to 3 of these tokens. For each evolution token removed from a character this way, it may reroll 1 of its dice. So, okay, yeah, 6 rerolls over the course of the game isn't that much, but I'm assuming the other cards give you some kind of ways to get more of those. And then it says an allied character assigned a horseman card may spend evolution tokens on this card as if they were power on its stat card to pay the power cost of superpowers on horseman cards. So you can also spend that as power, which is really, really interesting. Notably, though, he is only allowed to use 1 of these superpowers per turn, so he can't just go through and spend a bunch of them. But yeah, that's real good. Next, we have 2 of the Horseman cards here. We have War and Famine. We'll go ahead and start things out with War. And really notably, this one does not have that clause of when the character assigned to this card is KO'd, the card is removed from play. So even when whoever your horseman is taken down, Apocalypse still has access to the active superpower on that card. At least I believe that's what that kind of implies if it's written on one and not on the other. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But regardless, next it has its actual abilities here. So it gives the assigned character the following abilities. First one here is the active superpower. So this is the one Apocalypse is allowed to steal here. This is a 2-cost Fury. During the next attack made by this character this turn, if the target character is within range 2, this character may change 1 die result to a hit for each crit or wild in the attack roll. So it's kind of like Valkyrie's Warrior of Legend thing, but with that range 2 restriction on it as well, because I don't believe hers has that. Although she might just be entirely a range 2 attacker, so it doesn't really matter. Either way, yeah, that's a really, really strong superpower, and being able to just slap that on any model is really good. So yeah, super strong there. Obviously not any model, it has to be the Horseman ones, but a lot of models would benefit a lot from that. Next, it has the Horsemen of War passive. The first time each each turn that this character suffers damage from an enemy effect, and the first time each turn this character deals damage, after the effect is resolved, Master of the Horsemen gains 1 evolution token. So there you go. If that character is getting attacked, or if they're able to deal damage, particularly if they're able to deal damage on their opponent's turn, you're going to get a lot of evolution tokens for this one. So yeah, that's reasonably consistent there. A good way of gaining those tokens. Next, you have Famine. This one has the active superpower Vanish into Dust. This is a 2-cost superpower. Choose up to 1 enemy character within range 2 of this character. If an enemy character is chosen this way, it loses 1 power. Place this character within 2 of its current position. This superpower can be used only once per turn. So there's been some discussion on how this is going to roll out from Mini Extravaganza, and I don't think we have a final answer. I am leaning towards these are 2 completely separate parts of this ability, and you can totally do one without the other. But we'll see how that ends up ruling. There's a lot of people saying you're only able to use the effectively Gamma Leap part of this superpower if you had an enemy character you could choose within range 2. So we'll see how that works. But if I am correct and it is a separate ability, this is just a 2-cost Gamma Leap, and that's just real good. So yeah, that's that's a really solid thing with an added bonus effect there too. That could be really good in the right situation. And of course, it comes with its own way of generating the evolution tokens at the end of this character's activation. If no non-dazed enemy characters are within range 3 of it, Master of the Horsemen gains 1 evolution token. So super consistent here. If you really need that token for whatever reason, you could always just double move away from enemy characters. But I think the idea is kind of, you've killed everything near you, and now you're gaining tokens for that. So yeah, really solid there. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the other 2. All right, so next we have Death and Pestilence, and we get a nice look at the art for Death here as well. So we'll start with that one. Death has the superpower Created to End. This is a 3-cost active superpower. During the next attack this character makes this turn, add 1 die to the attack roll for each damage the target character has, to a maximum of 3. This superpower can be used only once per turn. All right, so you're going to basically be able to add a bunch of dice to your own attacks. That's pretty solid. Obviously up to 3, but depending on the character you're using this, that can be really good. Unfortunately for Apocalypse, he can't use both this one and the Warrior of Legend one in the same turn, because that would be really strong, but still really solid ability there. Next, it also has the Horsemen of Death. Once per turn, when another character is dazed or KO'd by this character, or this character is dazed or KO'd, after the effect is resolved, Master of the Horsemen gains 3 evolution tokens. So obviously a little bit harder to trigger there, but you get a good reward out of it for having done that. And I'm going to assume a lot of the Death characters are going to be relatively hard hitters, so you'll hopefully be able to get a lot of value out of that one. Next, there is Pestilence. This one gives you the Consuming Blight superpower. This is also a 2-cost for each enemy character within range 2. Choose one of the following. If they have the Poison, Root, or Slow condition, they suffer 1 damage, or you can give them the Poison, Root, or Slow condition. So that's just going to be really solid, especially combined with Apocalypse. You can try to give them one of those conditions that they already have, and then use that to turn it into one of the conditions that Apocalypse throws out. So you can do some really interesting things with that. Then you have the Horsemen of Pestilence passive here. At the end of this character's activation, Master of the Horsemen gains 1 evolution token for each enemy character that gained 1 or more special conditions during this character's activation. So in theory, you can, if the character has some form of like beam or something like that hands out a condition, you can hand out a lot through that one. And with that superpower, you can fairly consistently hand out at least 1 per turn, even if you don't hand out any on your own attacks or anything like that. So yeah, that's a really solid ability. All right, this is the part that I know most people were really excited about and waiting for, the Servants of the Apocalypse affiliation list. So of course, Apocalypse is listed as the leader, and there are a lot of other characters affiliated here. This is a fairly long list, and for the most part, I think there's a good chunk of characters here that have actually never been a horseman, but it is what it is. We kind of knew that was going to be the case going into this because there just wasn't enough of them in the game. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get right into this. So the first one is Archangel, who can be Death or Pestilence. Then we have Beast, who is Pestilence or War. Cable is Pestilence or War as well. Cassandra Nova is included and can be Death or Famine. Colossus can be Pestilence or War. Deadpool can be famine or war. Gambit is death or famine. Honey Badger is included. So the first of the two threats, we kind of knew there was going to be two threats on this list, and it made sense that it was going to be Honey Badger because she's one of the only two mutant two threats. And Honey Badger has access to death and war as well. Iceman is death and famine. And unfortunately, yeah, it's Pestilence that's all about handing out those conditions. So you don't get those sweet beams handing out conditions. That was the first thing I was thinking of there. But still, solid. Magic has famine and war, so ooh, that could be really, really interesting. Magic with fury could be really, really cool. Mr. Sinister is in famine and pestilence. I'd have to double check his beam, but I don't think it gives out any conditions, unfortunately. Would be really cool if it did, though. Psylocke is both death and famine. Sabretooth is pestilence and war. Blob is famine and pestilence. Does Blob give out any conditions? I don't know why, but the pestilence one is just the one I'm gravitating towards like theory crafting with. But unfortunately, I'm not seeing many characters who actually give out conditions on this. I guess kind of Cable and Archangel do. I was going a little faster at the beginning here, but yeah, that's unfortunate that obviously, you know, it might have been too strong if they gave it to characters that have beams that hand out conditions, but would have been really, really cool. Next, we also have Toad, who is either death or pestilence, and yeah, that's just kind of fitting. He also throws out conditions, so yeah, that's pretty solid. And then lastly, Wolverine can either be death or war. And man, Fury on Wolverine would be so swingy, but also terrifying because your wilds effectively count for 3 in that case, which is absurd. But yeah, that is the list here. So lots of characters. You know, Toad and Honey Badger being your two threats. I think it was 16. They said was the lowest threat you could play at, where you can make the full team. And yeah, that kind of makes sense. You run Toad and Honey Badger. Obviously, only one of them will have to be, or I guess either of them could be death, and then Toad could also be pestilence, or Honey Badger what war. Yeah. And then you run 2-3 threats in the other slots. And yeah, that's really interesting. So they did design this to be playable at those lower threats. You know, 15 threat, you're gonna have to give up one of these slots, but it also isn't a requirement of the affiliation that you have all 4 slots filled. You're still allowed to splash and stuff like that as well. So we'll see kind of how things shake out when people start to play around with this affiliation. See what people decide is the better path. Is it better to go with, you know, always bring 5 characters, 4 Horsemen and Apocalypse, or is it going to be one of those affiliations where there's kind of, you know, oh, maybe you know, Horseman X is not that great. Doesn't matter who you bring in that slot, so we don't really need that one. The abilities aren't good, they don't trigger off and whatever. So we're gonna bring the other 3 and then this really strong splash. I don't know. We're gonna have to see how that all plays out with time, but really, really interesting list here. Definitely excited about all of the characters they threw in here. Hopefully this kind of shoves a little bit of love towards some of the more underplayed characters on this list. Notably, I think that's the original Sabretooth on here. We got Blob, we got Mr. Sinister, Magic. I mean, Magic's hopefully going to be seeing a lot more love with the New Mutants affiliation coming soon, because Magic is of course the leader there, but I'm always down for more Magic on the table, so that's super exciting. Gambit, Colossus, Cassandra Nova, all characters that we don't see enough. So hopefully this can breathe a little bit of life back into some of those characters. And yeah, I'm really excited about this list. I think this is really, really cool, and I'm glad they gave you so many options, because I know me and my locals were all kind of like, they're probably gonna do like 2 or 3 characters per thing, and clearly they did a lot more than that. So yeah, that's really, really nice. But yeah, definitely excited about this list here. Just skimming the remainder of the article here, they talk a little bit about the ultimate encounter here. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that in this video just because we're already running a little long for a reveal breakdown here, but they talk about how all of the terrain will work really nicely with it and how Apocalypse goes between 4 different cards based on how strong he gets through the game. So that's really, really interesting. And it very specifically says the affiliation restriction is removed from who can be a horseman in that encounter. So anyone can be a horseman, which is really, really interesting, and that sounds pretty cool. So hopefully that adds some cool replayability and stuff to it. And then there's, of course, some pictures of the terrain here, which all looks really, really nice. And they've also said there's going to be some one-shot cards, which I think have been revealed in a previous thing as well. So that's all really, really cool, and I'm excited to see that stuff when it comes out. But yeah, that is going to do it for Apocalypse here. Are you guys excited? I know I am. This stuff looks really, really cool. I'm really happy with the affiliation list and how many characters were on it. There's a few I would have liked to see because they've actually been in those roles before. Might have been a balance reason that they didn't, but I think it was Hulk was War at one point in the comics, and that would have been really, really cool. But I feel like they might have been trying to avoid encouraging the double 6 threat. So can't really blame them on that one. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. Are you guys happy with the list? Are you disappointed character XYZ didn't make it on? Very excited to see other characters make it on. Definitely curious to hear your guys' thoughts down below. But that is going to do it for my breakdown here. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do drop a like down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We do reveal breakdowns and things like that whenever there are reveals to break down, but we also do battle reports and things like that on the weekends. So if you're a fan of any of that sort of thing, feel free to jump on in. That's going to do it for this one. So until next time, have a great day, everybody. Peace.